Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Psychosin Project, and with me here today is the lead singer for up-and-coming Canadian band, Canadian, not American, as I accidentally called them on my video, new Jacobin Club. Welcome to the show, Horde.
Thank you for having me.
No problem, no problem. Now, you released your newest album, Soldiers of the Mark, last year. How have you found the reception by the fans has been to it?
Actually, after as many years as I've been doing this, the reception we got for the album that last fall was incredible. Actually from overseas, especially from the UK. I can't begin to tell you how I would say not a surprise, but I mean, because we put a lot of hard work into it, but after all this time to actually have an album come out and immediately get so much positive response and a lot of album sales out of it too, especially at a time where people aren't spending a lot of money on music anymore.
Yeah. Now, going back to the beginning of the band, how did the band form?
It was the early mid-90s. And I was actually in, I had played in several bands a few years previous to that here in Western Canada that had, one in particular that had played, that was part of that kind of new 90s wave of punk rock.
Yeah.
That we were playing shows with bands like Rancid and Face to Face, and I believe All or the Descendants and things like that. And I wanted to do something a little more. I wasn't a leader in that scene. I had my own ideas as to what I wanted to do musically, and myself and another fellow that we were both very much into things like Nick Cave and the Misfits and whatnot, and we wanted to start our own group, and we did, and it went very horribly for a very long time, but. And we went through a lot of members, and a lot of people came and went, and it took many years, but the band never really went away, and it kept on getting larger. We went from being 3 people to being 5 to being 7 to having a large theatrical stage show, and the entourage of the band started to include performance artists and visual artists, and everyone that really wanted to contribute to this art form as a whole, and not just as a band that writes songs and records them. So, but it's been a long time, and it's been over 15 years in the making. So, yeah. It's very, very hard to talk about what it was like 18 years ago.
Yeah, no problem. They mentioned Nick Cave and the Misfits there. What are the other influences behind the sound of the band?
Well, the band as it has ended up now, I'd say some very big influences have also been Killing Joke has always been a huge deal to most of the people that have been in the band. We even recorded Love Like Blood a few years ago for an EP that I don't think came out anywhere except in Canada. And Killing Joke's a big one. I know Murder by Death is another band that we talk about a lot. Of course, they have the cellist as well, and Luminous is a big fan of Murder by Death. She did get to meet them once a little while back, which is a big deal for us because where we are in Western Canada, we don't get to see these people. They don't come through all the time. It's very rare that we get to see bands like this touring in our part of the world. So, I think also there's a lot of the old '80s European power thrash metal like Creator or Coroner or things like that. We listen to a lot of that. I don't know if it really peeks through in the music all the time, but that's always in the back of our heads too. So
it's sort of there in the background of the music. Whether you can't hear it, if it's not prevalent, it's there.
It's there. Yeah, I'm a big Creator fan. Creator was one of my favorite bands when I was in the 80s growing up.
Excellent. Now, how did the name of the band come about?
The name of the band is it's a political reference. It's a reference to the French Revolution. I don't want to give everyone a history lesson, but our band is actually, we are a political statement in disguise. We just don't wear our political views on our sleeve in the same way that a lot of other groups do.
So again, kind of like what Killing Joke have been doing for most of their career, basically.
Very much so. That's I never thought of that, but you're right. That's very much in the same vein. Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, with 6 members in the band, as you have now, do you find this makes the writing process for albums easier or a lot more difficult?
Well, we had more on the last album. There were 7 of us on the last album, but it actually, the process now. See, I think we actually wrote a lot of the music together as a group, whereas in years past we'd have members. There was someone that would come on board when the album was recorded, or someone that left the band as soon as the album was done. This is one of those. I think this is a kind of a landmark for the band in that we were together for the writing of most of the album. We recorded it. We toured with it. I think now at the age that we are and where we are, what stage in our lives that all the band members are at, I think we're here to stay. I don't think you're going to see big changes in this band for a long time. Not like when you're younger and people are busy with their musical careers or pursuing it or not pursuing it, and bands break up and reform like molecules, combining stuff like that.
Kiss syndrome, as you can call it.
yeah. I think we went through that. We went through a big, we went through a big period where we were something slightly different than we are now, and that it eventually came to an end. We had some key members that I'd been working with for almost a decade that finally kind of, they had to move on with their lives and other things. So, but no, the writing process for this album was fantastic. I don't think we'd ever done an album where the band was all in the same room together, assembling the songs together and bringing ideas together. In the past, a lot of it was because it was so hard to arrange rehearsals. One person would write a song, take it to the band, or give everyone a copy and say, "This is what I want to do. Learn this," right? So I think that's why some of our old albums sound like you can tell who wrote which song on them. Or you can tell they weren't the same band member.
But there again, there's nothing wrong with a bit of diversity on the albums, let's be honest here.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. You say that, but boy, the American critics just hate it. I can't tell you how much we've been, needled for having albums, especially our last album, that was all over the place. That there's some songs that sound kind of like, Sisters of Mercy, and then the next one sounds like Lamb of God or something or whatever. And they're like, this band is inconsistent. They have no direction, and and I'm like, whatever.
Yeah,
sure.
But then again, you got to remember these are the same critics who probably helped Creed get so huge back in the day. So
probably this is delightful. These are the new troubadours of American culture, or whatever. Yeah, I know.
Now, a couple of years ago, sorry,
we have Nickelback. Remember?
I try not to be honest with you. I try not to.
Go through their hometown all the time. When we travel west, there's a small town of Hannah, and Hannah is where Nickelback comes from, and it's such a big deal. It's such a small rural community to have one of the world's biggest rock bands that they're even on the sign as you come in. Welcome to Hannah, home of Nickelback, and the high school there has murals of their album covers on it. It's surreal. It's weird. So. And we always turn the radio on when we drive through Hannah to see if Nickelback's on the radio at that very moment. And never has been.
Hopefully it won't happen. Now, a few years ago, you released this Treason sort of album and DVD. Are you looking to do anything like that again with a future release?
With album DVD? Well, I think what we're doing now is we're focusing on, you're going to see a lot more visual video stuff this year. We're doing 2 more concept videos for our album. The first video that we did for Angel was a very quick. It was a bit of a concept video. It had Candy's Countess Bathory, footage in there. But you're going to see 2 more very heavy concept videos come out this year. One that I was even discussing earlier today with someone who's going to be one of the producers, And I don't know if that's going to end up being another DVD. We're going to collect the videos together. The point of the DVD back in 2010 was that we were getting a lot of attention for our live show, but really, I mean, it wasn't anytime soon that anyone was going to see it overseas or in the United States, which is very difficult for us to get into. So we wanted to come out with something where people could see our show.
Okay.
Which is why we did that, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Now, how would you yourself describe the sound of the band these days?
Sound of the band?
Yeah.
It's theatrical rock. And I could say it's a little bit of punk and a little bit of goth and a little bit of heavy metal and a little bit of weird Silver Dagger folky stuff. It's a little bit of everything, and I don't want to try and tell someone that it's something if they're going to disagree with me. I would rather people just listen to it. I would like anyone that thinks that this sounds interesting to them to just give it a listen. It's very difficult for me to... I know bands say that all the time. We can't really describe our sound. Whatever. But every time we've come out or our management or publicity has said, the band sounds like this, or they're this type of music, right away there's 4 out of 5 people that get that publicity go, whatever. No, it's not. It's nothing like that. Or, you guys... Or you're supposed to sound like this heavy metal, this or that, and you're not metal at all. And I hear that all the time. I'm like, okay, fine. You can call it whatever you want. The next person that comes up with the best name will use it.
Yeah, because at the moment you're down as horror punk on your Facebook
horror
page.
Punk that's fine. That's fine. We're a lot heavier than most punk bands, and yeah, horror punk is that's all right. I heard something, and I don't know if it was it might have been a podcast from the UK. Or a radio show, and I heard this, and they play us from time to time, and it's called Gasp. Are you familiar with that?
No, I can't say I am myself.
Well, see, because I'm not quite sure, but I think they use Gasp as a genre descriptor, and I think it stands for Gothic Alternative Steampunk Progressive. I think that's it. And I was like, that's kind of neat. I'd be down with that. Gasp, and it sounds kind of, you know...
It does seem to suit your sound a lot more than possibly horror punk does.
Gasp rock. There you go.
Now, as you mentioned earlier, you covered Love Like Blood by Killing Joke, which is, I'll be honest, one of my favourite Killing Joke songs myself.
Cool.
How did this come about? Was it sort of a band decision, or did you sort of mention it in rehearsal?
It was the drummer. It was our drummer wanted to do it. We were going to... we'd been playing it live, actually, for a couple of years. Yeah. And the drummer just said one day, I want to do this. And he actually, the cover album that we did, I don't think any of the music on there had anything to do with my influence. It was really kind of Eclipse. He was our drummer for about 8 years. And curiously enough, he left the band because he moved to the UK. He went to recordings college there, and he's a moderately successful remix DJ now. But anyways, he wanted to do. It was the last kind of recording. It was the last kind of project he did with the band before he moved away, and he wanted to do that song. We did a New Model Army song. We did 9 Inch Nails. We did Wish. So we weren't doing super obscure things here. We were actually doing stuff that people had heard, and that was discussed in the band. Well, because if Killing Joke song, like I would have wanted to do like something from their first album, or something from Fire Dances. That's my favorite album. But they wanted to do stuff that people would maybe recognize. So we did some bigger songs, and that came out in 2008. He'd already left the band, and we were already touring with the Angry Teeth Freak Show then. So that EP was used to support that little tour we did the following year.
Okay, and now for those who haven't seen you live yet, what can they expect from the live new Jacobin Club experience?
Our stage show is often a concept show. There have been times where our stage show has been involved enough that it's almost like a production. There's a bit of a storyline in the cases of both of our last 2 albums. They are concept albums. This Treason was about the fall of King Edward II, and Soldiers of the Mark is about is about a Hellfire Club helping bring about all of the events of the Book of Revelations with characters from the Book of Revelations. And so we do have a show featuring all sorts of sideshow tricks and freak show stunts and lots of pyrotechnics that often follow the storyline of the albums, or sometimes we even put together when we were working with the Angry Teeth Freak Show, they'd come up with what they called psychodramas, which were these little kind of storylines that played out during the course of the concert that really may or may not have anything to do with the music, but you could kind of follow what was going on. Someone was, kidnapped and then made to, join some cult or something, or in the case of this treason, we had the trial of Sir Hugh Despenser, and they stapled all his atrocities and sins on parchment paper to his arms, which were actually explosive flash paper. Then they'd set them on fire and be, kind of strung up on a cross and things like that. So yeah, there's some of our shows that are fairly involved.
So if you got the right backing from, say, a major record label, would you be looking to do something that's along the lines of like what Queensryche did with the Operation Mindcrime albums live, or Devin Townsend with the Retinal Circus that he done over here in the UK?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've done some fairly large shows. We've scaled it back just because it was preventing us from playing in a lot of places.
Yeah.
But between 2009 and 2011, the years right before and right after This Treason came out, there was as many as 12 of us on stage, including everyone that was playing and everyone was performing. And it was a large group, and we really needed a certain type of venue and a certain type of stage. And what we were doing was just shocking enough that it wasn't exactly family entertainment. In fact, we almost got in trouble for it a couple times in some places, because some places have city bylaws about what you can do on stage in front of an audience in public, right? Things that...
If you don't test them laws, you can't push the boundaries, can you? Let's face it.
Right. But there were other Canadian acts that weren't bands. We were the only band that was doing something like this, but there were other traveling sideshows and circuses that were doing some similar things that we were doing, that were getting in trouble or being told they couldn't perform in certain cities. So we had to really be careful with what we were doing where. And but we'd modify things based on where we were and what we were allowed to do. But eventually we said, look, we need to be able to go out and perform regularly and not just play work up this big show and then only go do it 4 or 5 times in Western Canada, because we wanted to perform more often than that.
Yep, okay. Now, if you could have anyone guest on a new Jacobin Club song, who would you choose for it? I've stumped you now.
I would say probably my favorite singer-songwriter of all time, Jackson 5s from the Forbidden Dimension. And that's a band whose tribute album we played on. They're a Canadian band.
Yeah.
They've been around since late 80s up until present. We've even shared the stage with them a couple times. I would welcome him to come in and do whatever he wants on a song. He's guitar solo, or he could sing it, whatever. I think that would be the fellow.
You sound like you're already trying to make plans for it in your head.
Yeah, no, I don't think I could ever bring myself to ask. No.
Now, next question. Obviously, I don't know if you'll have an answer for it, but is there any idea as to when we can see you guys over here in the UK?
We have started to give that serious thought, because especially when we looked at everything that happened in 2014. 2014 as a year, we saw, I would say, half of all of our music and merchandise, and even our fan club online, close to half of it is all from people in the UK.
Yeah. And
we need to... It's a pretty big financial undertaking to make it over there, and not just make it over there, but make it over there and make sure we'll be able to at least do some of the some of what we do on stage. And in Canada, there are more Canadian bands that try to go to the UK than the United States for sure. And I think this is probably going to be the next thing we're going to try and do. I can't see it happening any sooner than by the end of this year. Maybe let's when you start seeing us talk about putting out another album or something, that's probably going to be the sign that that's why we're doing it. Right. And I don't think you'll see another full-length album within the next year, but you'll see something else. The band is about to turn 20 years old, and we have plans for something else that's not quite a new album, and it's not going to be a reissue. It's going to be something a little different. But I think when you start hearing about that, you can guess that might be a excuse to come over.
Okay, look forward to it. Now, the entire band, you'll have stage names and obviously wear the makeup and different costumes on stage. Do you find this helps put you into the right headspace for the band when you play live? Yes.
Yeah. It's a big part of it. And it's interesting that the band, some of us, what we are on stage is really not that different than what we are off. I'm not saying we walk around dressed like that. There are definitely musicians out there who walk around, we call it being on. They're on all the time. We're on, when we're on stage, we're on. We're pretty much like that all the time. And I'll talk on stage about the same way I am now. I'll just be a lot louder, right? And it's interesting how over the years, a lot of the musicians people that have been in the band, we're not going out and shopping for props and costumes. A lot of these things are things that were part of our lives already, right? So like whether it's the clothing or like for Mistress Nagini, for example, she is she's been a dance instructor, and she's done things like belly dancing and fire handling and things like that. So a lot of the stuff you see us doing on stage was brought to the band. It was already part of who we were even before it got to the stage. We are all musicians, visual artists, performance artists. There's some of there throughout the membership of the group, you'll see all those professions out off stage.
Yep. Okay. Now, over the years, you've played with such big bands as KMFDM, Voltaire, Nashville Pussy. Is there any bands that you're still looking that you would love to tour with?
Tour with?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. If we make it to the UK, I want to find this band Ghostfire. You familiar with them?
No, but I will look them up on your recommendation now.
I want to find Ghostfire, and I want to share the stage with them in the UK. And their band I've been following for a few years, and they've had some. I've noticed. I kind of felt a little kinship with them when they had some huge member changes. Their lineup got a big shakeup a couple of years ago, and it was kind of looked unsure whether they were going to continue. And then they came out with a new EP, and I really like their sound. It's very colorful. It's dark. I believe they do have string players now. They have a cello player. They didn't have previously, and that's a band I would like to meet. I would like to do some shows with.
Now, finally, is there anything you would like to say to all your fans listening?
Well, thank you so much for everything that's happened last year, and want to remind everyone that on our website you can always stop by and get some free music. You can sign up for our fan club, and you will get access to some cool stuff that you do not see on Facebook and you don't see on the website. And this is how we really communicate and maintain our relationship with our fans. So please visit our site. Please do become part of our fan community if you're interested in what we're doing. We've given away and made available some very interesting things over the last year and a half that I don't think the rest of the world knows about. We've had things like we put out hardcover coffee table books and wall calendars and things like that, and a lot of things just for our just for fans in our actual fan community. No, I'm not talking about the 5,000 people that hit like on Facebook.
Yeah.
I'm talking to people in our actual fan club. So please do, if you're interested in our band, stop by our website and just drop your email address there.
Okay, Horde, I want to thank you very much for joining me for this interview tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
If you haven't checked them out, ladies and gentlemen, the new Jacobin Club, go check them out. I've got to get a video review of their last album up on my YouTube soon. I will remember to actually say that they're not American this time. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you to Horde and thank you to the new Jacobin Club. Cheers.
Cheers.
I turn to face it all. Sun will burn.